All right. It is Friday morning in Lincoln, Nebraska, and there's no better place to be than a breakfast buffet. That's for sure. Thank you to Randy Hawthorne for the bacon. Much appreciated. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Steve Doskey. I'm 24 years old. I live and work here in Lincoln, was raised in Lincoln, and I'm very proud to call this place home. And over the first couple, over my relatively short years of life so far, I've had the opportunity to, a couple cool opportunities to meet a lot of people from all over the country, develop some really close, special relationships with some of those people. And when we part ways and we kind of go back to our different corners of the world, it's always like, they're always talking about, hey, you should come visit me in, wherever they're from. And it's like, oh yeah, and you should definitely come visit Nebraska if you get the chance. And they're always like, yeah, whatever. It's like, come on. So, that's the question for everybody, right? It's like, Nebraska, what is there to do here? What's going on here? This place is flyover country. Nobody thinks of Nebraska, right? And I guess they're right. There's really not a whole lot going on in Nebraska. There's nothing very special about Nebraska and Lincoln specifically, right? We're just consistently rated one of the happiest, healthiest cities in the country, one of the best places to raise a family, one of the best places for young professionals, one of the best job markets, one of the best housing markets, one of the most affordable cities and states in the country, one of the most hardworking, welcoming, volunteering. The list goes on and on and on. We've got an excellent economy. We weathered the late 2000s financial crisis, low unemployment, and low cost of living. Our state government is one of the only unicamerals, the only unicameral in the country, one of the only nonpartisan bodies in the country. And I'd say particularly in this very polarized political deadlock, I think we're setting a pretty darn good example for the rest of the country. We have excellent public schools. Can we take a second to appreciate Lincoln Public Schools? Yeah, that is something that I am truly proud and thankful to be a product of Lincoln Public Schools and having grown up here and attended our public schools. Schools doesn't stop there. We've got excellent colleges and universities from UNL to Wesleyan to SCC. Quick shout out to the UNL Journalism School White Clay Project that last spring won the prestigious RFK Prize. No big deal, but a group of students from middle of nowhere, Nebraska, beat out National Geographic, New Yorker, HBO. It's the first time that National Journalism Award has ever been won by students. So yeah, I think we're doing some pretty good work here in middle of nowhere, Nebraska. So, speaking of that middle of nowhere, people say this is the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of everywhere. Within a day's drive, I can get to, just thinking going clockwise, I can get to Denver, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Dallas, Oklahoma City. I can get to the mountains or the beach in one day, and that's if I want to go away. Have you seen the natural beauty of this state? I mean, this time of year, have you been to Indian Cave State Park in the fall? Have you been out to Branched Oak Lake on a summer evening? Have you sat under Nebraska skies from horizon to horizon? That is something that I will never get tired of. At least I hope I never tire of it. People also say there's nothing happening here. Come on, there is so much happening here. With all the construction and growth that we've had over the past several years, the West Haymarket has sprung up within the last 5 years alone. Right across the street, the Lincoln Journal-Star and former Knickerbocker sites are about to be two of the biggest construction projects that this city has seen in such a long time. The South Haymarket expansion, the Telegraph District, everything that's going on UNL City campus right now, this city's skyline is frankly exploding. The city itself is expanding so much to both the north and the south that, Lincoln Public Schools is having to consider 7 new schools, possibly 2 new high schools. I had to pick my words carefully because I know LPS is in the building here. I didn't want to jump the gun on that. But regardless, the fact that Lincoln Public Schools enrollment has increased something like 25% over the last decade alone, the fact that we're dealing with that issue is just an incredible problem to have and shows the amazing growth of this city. For a city of less than 300,000 people, this does not happen everywhere. It's happening right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. We also happen to be the middle of the Silicon Prairie, a rising entrepreneurial hub throughout the country. Silicon Valley companies are relocating here to the Midwest, and Lincoln, Nebraska is right in the center of it all. Big things are happening here. There's so much happening here. So people say there's nothing to do here. Come on, there is so much to do here. We've all seen city campus absolutely come, or we've all seen downtown and just the whole city absolutely come alive on Husker game days. I've seen the rail yard go from a Husker watch party one day to a skate park and art festival the next day. It was such an incredible scene. We've got Jazz in June, we've got the farmers market down here in the beautiful historic Haymarket. Our local music scene is fantastic. Shout out to you, Ishma, looking at you. We have had, speaking of concerts, I think it was a couple months ago, I saw 311 throw a massive party in the streets, the stage silhouetted by the Nebraska State Capitol. It was so cool. Also 311, native Nebraskans, just saying. A couple months ago, I also got a chance to see Prairie Home Companion down at Pinewood Bowl. Have you ever been down to Pinewood Bowl and see a show there? I swear it is the next Red Rocks of the Midwest. And I would love to see that happen. That is a dream of mine. And seriously, look at this place. I don't see why we can't make that happen. And it's not just concerts. I think last month I got to see one of the biggest boxing matches in the world of the last decade, because one of the best boxers alive right now Terrence Crawford happens to be a native Nebraskan. Oh, anyone, third round KO, Mayweather, looking at you. I'll let him make that decision. Nebraska is the home of fighters, athletes, actors, artists, poets, photographers, musicians, even American Ninja Warriors. We have had American Ninja Warriors. But perhaps the most important thing that I see in Lincoln and Nebraska is its culture. We have a warmth and kindness here that you don't find elsewhere, and it's so special. I think we've all felt it. It's difficult to describe. It's the reason that me personally, I very much enjoy running, and when I'm running down Lincoln's bike paths, I think we have one of the most miles of bike trail per capita in the country. When I'm running down the bike path, I can give a smile or a friendly wave to everyone I pass, and almost every single person will share that right back to me. I mean, that's something special that I think we can sometimes take for granted, that does not happen everywhere else. We're welcoming, we care for our neighbors, and we care for all of them. I think that's best demonstrated by the fact that in 2016, Nebraska resettled the most refugees per capita in the country. I think that is something to be so proud of. Yeah, absolutely. And so many of them ended up right here in Lincoln. Which is a beautiful thing. And one of my favorite things about this state is this. If you have not had a chance to stand under a Nebraska sunset and felt a connection with something bigger than yourself while staring at these colors, go give it a try, please. It is one of the most wonderful feelings in existence that I have found. This is Nebraska, this is Lincoln, this is the place we call home. So as we go through this program today and as we go out into this city that we call home to continue to live here, work here, and serve here, I hope that we can continue to be inspired to continue living the good life and figuring out how to make it even greater together. Thank you so much.
Steve, thank you. If you could have just brought some energy to the gathering this morning, it would have been, all right, sit down, that's enough now. Steve, where did you go to high school?
Lincoln Southeast.
Lincoln Southeast, yeah. Class of 1968, Lincoln Southeast. Good job, Steve, very excited for you. My name is Scott Young. I work at the Food Bank of Lincoln. I am also a member of the, what this young man tells me is the second best Leadership Lincoln Executive Series class. We were number 14. He was talking about class 17, Mick. Well, or 27, sorry, Mick. Who could ever forget that great class of 27? But I want to welcome you this morning to this great and grand event. We have a lot of great things going on this morning, and we are so glad that so many of you made time for this part of your day to celebrate Lincoln and hear some great stories as well. An event like this wouldn't be possible without the support of a lot of people and alumni of Leadership Lincoln. We'd like to recognize our table sponsors for their continued support of this event and Leadership Lincoln's mission. Please hold your applause until I tell you don't have to hold it anymore. Emeritus, Bryan Health System, BVH Architecture, First National Bank of Omaha, Ion Design, Lincoln Community Foundation, Lincoln Electric System, Lincoln Fire and Rescue, Nelnet, Project Control, Southeast Community College, Union Bank and Trust, and Westgate Bank. Would you thank all these folks, please? We have several elected officials today who are serving our community in all areas of service. If you are serving an elected office, please stand and be recognized for your commitment to our community. And would you all join me in thanking them for making that decision? Elected officials, please rise. We also have a couple of dignitaries who were honored last week at the Journal Star Inspire Women Awards, and I'd like to call them out and have them stand. Barbara Bartle of Lincoln Community Foundation. Barb, where are you? There you are. Thank you, Barb. Barb was enough of an inspiration that she can't get a table at this event this morning. That's really nice. And Karen Bell Dancy of the YWCA, who is at the front table here. Karen, thank you and congratulations. We'd also like to recognize the State of the City Planning Committee chaired by Tom Beckius. Their hard work and commitment is greatly appreciated in making this event possible. Tom, where are you? He can't get a table either. Tom, thank you. And we are grateful to Mayor Chris Beitler and his staff for assisting in the presentation of his message today about Lincoln. Leadership Lincoln is grateful to have the opportunity to be a part of this event and partner with the Mayor's office on this. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mick Hale, Executive Director of Leadership Lincoln, and I assume a member of the Executive Series Class 27. Mick Hale, please.
And he is right, best class ever. I mean, you got to know how to do it. Yes, that's right, Denise. Scott's always a tough act to follow, poised, polished, professional, a wee bit taller than the average person. But throw Steve into the mix, bring in energy. The guy's got to have his A game, so thank you very much. Let's give it up for those guys. Thank you all. We are excited to start the year. We greatly appreciate all of you being a part of this special day and joining us. For 33 years, Leadership Lincoln has been fortunate to have the support of the community and hundreds of highly engaged volunteers. We would not be able to do what we do without the efforts of these dedicated individuals. This first group, our board of directors, has a long-standing tradition of support, guidance, and encouragement through very difficult times, and we are very grateful for their involvement. Also, the Leadership Lincoln staff, Laura and Randy, I'm sure most of you are like me, that when you start your day, get on your computer, you may check Facebook first. I like to see what Stella Bennett is throwing out for words of wisdom on any given day to inspire me. Then you get on your email, and it is more common than you think that the first email in my inbox will be at 4 a.m. from Randy Bretz, and it's a reply to an email from Laura Uradil at about 11:59. So we're pretty sure that we're covering just about as much as we can, and I'm grateful for their commitment, for our board of directors and all that they do for us. And as I said, we could not do what we do with all of this great support. Could we please have our board, past and current, as well as our staff, please stand and be recognized. Also critical to our success are the folks who volunteer for our many committees, giving so graciously of their time, talent, and quite often their personal treasure to make our programming relevant and impactful. If you are currently serving on any one of our committees, Hot Topics, State of the City, Annual Celebration Programming, any committee at all, would you please stand and be recognized? The big reason that we're here today is that we're excited to be able to have an opportunity to show off the next group who will lay claim to the best class ever. And this year's class, we're very honored to introduce 4 new classes made up of 126 eager servant leaders in training. Our first group, our youth group, Youth Leadership Lincoln Class 21, there were 85 applications last spring for 45 spots. Very, very difficult. This, I will say, of all the things we do, that particular process is the most difficult, the most unpleasant, to go through that list, to see so many wonderful kids and be limited with those numbers. This year, the 45 students selected are sophomores. They represent most of Lancaster County, and they come from both the public and the private schools. Their year is well underway, and they've already made a strong connection with the community. We have several of these students joining us today. Obviously, some of them may have school commitments, maybe didn't do their homework like these students perhaps did. So if we could have Youth Leadership Lincoln Class 21, please stand and be recognized, and let's welcome them. And then our 3 adult programs, the Academy for Local Leadership, the Fellows Class, as well as the Lincoln Executive Series. These programs, our Fellows program is our longest standing program, 33 years. This is Class 33. Our Executive Series, we are celebrating an anniversary this year with that class, Class 30. And then Project All, we are welcoming our 11th class, Project All participants this year. We're excited. I know last year we visited a lot at this event. As I said, I was starting my second year of my reign of terror with Leadership Lincoln. And it's getting worse because now I'm really starting to get a feel for stuff. We are excited, though, as well as our committees and a lot of the folks that we visited with. We are going to continue working and focusing and developing relationships within our classes, but part of something that we feel that we're missing is that opportunity to look inside internally and see that we have great opportunity for mentoring possibilities, for greater engagement across for-profit spectrum, and the chance to bring all of our adult classes together obviously is going to increase our diversity in opportunity and exposure to other things in the community. So this year on select days, we will be bringing all of the adult classes together, one being our Human Services Day that will be happening in November. And then the second, another day will be in February, where we'll have a full board training for all of our participants, a full day's worth of preparing them to go out into the community. So at this time, if we could please have all 3 of our current adult programs, Project All, Fellows, and the Exec Series, please stand and be recognized, and welcome to the Leadership Lincoln family. And finally, you may have noticed we got a new logo. What do you think? Last spring, through a collaboration with the University of Nebraska School of Journalism, 3 student-led teams designed and presented proposals to our board of directors who approved this logo. We're excited to formally unveil this today, and we're looking forward to sharing some other items with you in the near future. So since we last met last year, we've got a new look, a new home. We're at the Nonprofit Hub, which is the coolest place in town to be, I guarantee you. We've got some new strategies that we're implementing, but I will tell you we have the same intentions. We will continue to engage, connect, and serve by building networks and creating awareness that will inspire leaders to drive change and improvement in all of our communities. All of our communities. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask all of you that haven't had a chance to stand up to please stand up. Oh, thank you, Suzanne. Good job. At this time, while she's standing, we would like to introduce the chair of the Leadership Lincoln Board of Directors, Suzanne Chagru, who serves many leadership roles in this community. She works at Madonna. She is here to present this year's Distinguished Service Award. She'll be joined by last year's recipient, City Councilman Benny Shobe. Would you give them a nice round of applause, please?
Good morning. This is the second day in a row I've worn a polo shirt to work. It's kind of fun.
I'm jealous. You make it look good.
Oh, thank you. So, good morning. Welcome and congratulations to all the new classes. I'm excited to see how you grow this year. And then you're part of this great fellowship that is Leadership Lincoln. Leadership Lincoln has had a long tradition of celebrating excellence and servant leadership in our community. Since 1989, Leadership Lincoln has recognized alumni who have made an impact on the community as well as Leadership Lincoln and exemplifies true servant leadership. This award is really important to me because on a personal note, one of my favorite people ever won this award. Robert Greenleaf, who was, as many of us know, kind of the father of servant leadership, said, "Servant leadership is a philosophy and a set of practices that enriches the lives of individuals, builds better organizations, and ultimately creates a more just and caring world." One of our early Distinguished Service Award winners and a member of the Leadership Lincoln Fellows Class 2 exemplified this definition. Lana Flagg-Twitt was a caring friend, a mentor, and a moral compass to many of us in this room. This summer she died tragically and left so many of us devastated. So I'd really be remiss if I didn't mention Lana today, as she has served as an inspiration to so many. She made good on the lessons that we all learned when we went through Leadership Lincoln. She went on to serve as a board member, a volunteer, and a donor for many, many, many local, state, and state organizations, including Capital Humane Society, Spring Creek Prairie, Children's Zoo, Humanities Nebraska, the Lincoln Community Foundation, just to name a few. She was a humble and generous leader. She shared her time, talents, and treasure, bless you, to impact literally thousands of lives, myself included, both the two-legged variety and the four-legged variety, if you know Lana. Her legacy and that of those who live as servant leaders will continue to impact our community, like all of you, for many generations to come. Speaking of humble and generous servant leaders who have been impacting generations of Lincolnites, it's my honor on behalf of the Leadership Lincoln Board of Directors to today recognize Dr. Marilyn Moore with the 2017 Distinguished Alumni Award.
You know, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a sixth grade student at an ice cream shop the evening of the first day of school. And we were talking about his first day of school, and I said, "So tell me, what was your favorite thing?" And he looked at me and he said, "I loved it all. Everything was my favorite." And I think that's a really good thing to say about Lincoln. It's the whole community. And it's a really good example of one of my favorite organizational theories and one of my favorite leadership theories, and that is that truly the sum is much, that the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. So when you take a quality of life look at this community and you fold in parks and trails and education systems and churches and job opportunities and higher education opportunities and a growing entrepreneurship and the growing diversity of this community and a size that still is such that it makes it possible for people to be engaged and possible for people to make a difference. And then you add to that kind of a spirit of entrepreneurship and a spirit that tends to be more positive than negative, a spirit that is open and welcoming to new people, to new ideas, to new ways of thinking about things, then you get a community that is much greater than just adding those things up. There's something about the mix that makes this just truly a remarkable community. And I am struck by the number of people I know who have moved here and thought that they would be here for about 5 years in their career, and then they would move on to the next place, and they never moved on because they couldn't imagine that there would be any place better to live than Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think that's really true. Well, I am deeply honored by it. I thought, as I observed Leadership Lincoln from the very beginning, what a powerful concept to be intentional about identifying future leaders and then to help them grow together, to get to know one another, to get to know this community, and to make a commitment to this community. And it seems to me that over the years, that mission has been lived out over and over and over again and strengthened and expanded. There are more Leadership Lincoln groups than there were when the organization started, and I believe there's a very intentional effort to reflect the whole of this community in those classes. So there's more diversity in the classes in every way than there was when the organization started, because the community is more diverse. So I think it is such an important part of the community of Lincoln. People identify with which class they're in. I mean, you asked me which group I was in, I can tell you which group I was in. There's some organizations I can't tell you when I was on that board or when I was a part of that organization, but I can tell you what Leadership Lincoln class I was in. So people identify with that. And it's a visible presence in the community, and I think it reminds by its very name the importance of nurturing and developing leadership within the community. So to be honored by an organization that does such important work is truly an honor, and I'm very grateful for that, and frankly surprised by that. So thank you. In so many ways. I was brand new in my associate superintendent position at Lincoln Public Schools, and just beginning to get a glimpse of how much bigger role that was than anything I'd ever done, and how much of a community role that it was. That I would have both the obligation, and I always thought of it as the immense opportunity to tell the LPS story to lots of groups in the community and in many settings. And so Lincoln Executive Series helped me start to do that, because the other people that were in the group were from a variety of professional fields, as they always are. And it was an opportunity on a pretty small scale to get to know people in those different fields and to have a chance to start to tell the LPS story. And then of course the sessions were so helpful in learning this community. And I'd lived in this community since I came to college, so I knew Lincoln. I thought I knew Lincoln well, but I didn't know, I didn't know the details, and I didn't know the inner workings of different systems within the community. So it was just such a wonderful opportunity to get to know the community, to get to know other leaders, and to start to figure out what my role might be in my professional role as a member of this community.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Marilyn Moore. Scott Young told me very helpfully that I should lower the mic when I came to this stand, and he's right, I should. Good morning, all, and thank you so much for being here to celebrate the city and to celebrate leadership. I think one of the many remarkable things about this city is the very intentional effort to seek out and develop and nurture leadership, and everyone in this room is a part of that process. We have been those at the very beginning of our leadership opportunities, and we have been those along the way where we've been nurturing others while still growing ourselves. And it is
one of the qualities that results in that whole list of great things about Lincoln that Steve reminded us of this morning with such energy and passion, which I love, by the way. That was just grand. It reminded me of the energy and passion that little 6th grade boy Jackson had at the end of his first day of school. When you see that kind of energy and passion in anyone in this community, you just want to be sure that that young person has the opportunity in whatever way to develop and grow and become all that they can be. We want the promise and the potential for everyone to be realized, and leadership is what makes that happen, and Leadership Lincoln is one of the prime organizers in that whole effort. And I do have to say, related to Suzanne's comments about Lana Flagtwet, earlier this summer, I became the chair of the development committee of Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center Board because Lana asked me to do that. And so it's just a prime example, once again, of someone inviting another person into an opportunity to grow and develop and become a leader in a new way. I'm very grateful for Lana and for her many contributions to this city. Very grateful to all of you for what you do to make this a great place, and honored to have worked with so many of you and so many others. Really good people doing really good work that results in really good things for people in this community. Thank you very much.
Chris Beitler was elected mayor of Lincoln, Nebraska in May of 2007 and re-elected in May of 2011 and again in 2015, becoming the first mayor in Lincoln history to be elected to a third term. The native Nebraskan also served 6 terms in the Nebraska legislature. He worked in the title industry for 15 years and started his own title company. As a development consultant for the city of Lincoln, Chris raised millions of dollars for the Parks and Rec Department. He's a graduate of Yale University and earned a law degree from the University of Nebraska. He also served in the United States Peace Corps and in the U.S. Army. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mayor Chris Beitler.
Good morning, everybody. You ready for another rock and roll day in Lincoln? Huh? Steve Dosky, where are you? Right there. You're hired. I don't know what the job is, but just keep talking about Lincoln. Huh? Yeah. I was going to give that job to Scott Young, the big guy here. But his level of impertinence and irreverence has risen to such a deal. I just couldn't handle it anymore, you know? Dr. Moore, congratulations. It's quite possible, I think you'll get 100 more awards for everything that you've done. And I will be there every time to say thank you. Let me go back to an earlier rock and roll session I had with some leaders of the city of Lincoln back in 2008. Many of those leaders are sitting around in this room today. They came in to see me with what most people would probably have considered to be a crazy, improbable dream. They wanted to build a $170 million arena to replace Pershing Center. And they wanted to do it by imposing new taxes during the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, in a floodplain that had environmental problems at that. And on top of that, tens of millions of dollars of railroad tracks that would have to be relocated. And I was thinking, thanks, guys. In short, we were being asked to orchestrate the biggest Lincoln development project in all time in a very challenging setting. It was the first major test of my new administration, and I pondered hard where to go with this. In doing that, I was taken back to a very early time in my life. When I was in college, a young president issued a clarion call that rang out across the land. The way it rang out is almost not understandable today. John Kennedy challenged the American people generally, and youth in particular. Ask not what your country can do for you, he said. Ask what you can do for your country. Those immortal words dared an entire generation of young people to think beyond their individual ambitions and to embrace and advance the shared values of the nation. No longer would advancing liberty and justice and prosperity be the aspirations of just a few. Going forward, every single American would do the work of creating a more perfect society. I was one of the hundreds of thousands of young Americans who answered the president's call in different ways. I entered the newly created Peace Corps and immersed myself in promoting the values of American democracy alongside the community leaders in a place called Konya, Turkey. I clearly remember my trepidation being asked to bear what was for me a new responsibility of representing our country's values and also responding to the needs of the host country, the need to change. A lot was at stake. Similarly, a lot was at stake in Lincoln when I first took office. We were losing our young people to other cities at an alarming rate. The energy and dynamic quality of our city that is so evident today and that you all feel was in short supply. We were at a crossroads, and our choice was growth or the stagnation of the status quo. The arena represented an opportunity to reverse these trends, bringing economic and cultural renaissance, attracting hundreds of millions of dollars in private sector investment, creating jobs, and keeping more of our young talent at home. But again, the proposal was not without risk. The arena would require considerable tax support. New taxes are never popular, and supporting a major tax initiative could jeopardize the rest of the programs that we saw and wanted to accomplish and promised to accomplish in the future. It might divide Lincoln at a time when we needed unity to navigate the uncharted future. As I faced my first major challenge as mayor, I thought hard on those days in the Peace Corps and the lessons of overseas. Change is often resisted, but often necessary. Somebody once said that the status quo dies hard, in large part because fear is its greatest ally. Fear is the enemy of change, the thief of ambition, the champion of the half swing, of the almost is good enough. If you govern from fear, the political safe spot becomes what's right, and what's best for the community is often lost or long delayed. Progress is the province of the bold. Our city needed change and strong leadership to usher it in. But as I also learned in the Peace Corps, leadership is not a solo sport. We are always stronger when we build consensus and the vision becomes broadly shared. Instead of unilaterally passing the bonds in the crisis we face, in choosing a direction of the new arena, the City Council and I decided to put the issue on the ballot and trust the people to make this major decision regarding their future. We all know how the chapter ends. The Pinnacle Bank Arena is an amazing success story. The arena in the West Haymarket has also given us a community blueprint for progress, a set of practices that push Lincoln forward, being bold, exploring the new, embracing challenges and risks, working together to educate and mobilize the community, taking action and making it happen. And because of that blueprint, the state of our city in 2017 is stronger than ever. Over the last decade, we have witnessed prosperity unparalleled in Lincoln's history. Over $2 billion in public and private investment, consistently one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation, top national rankings for both our economy and our quality of life. The results affirm that our blueprint for progress is working. And I'd like to spend a few minutes with you today talking about how we use our blueprint for progress to implement 4 key ideas that will drive Lincoln forward. Economic investment, 21st century education, innovation, and world-class infrastructure. Let's start with economic investment. Most big projects require both private and public investment. Wise use of the city's economic investment tools is paying big dividends for Lincoln. The city recently partnered with Shields to help finance an $80 million expansion to attract regional retail trade. A group of local businesses is proposing 2 hotels and associated development at 9th and O Street. The $70 million project will represent the single largest private investment in a building in Lincoln's history. But that record is not going to last long. The record will be short-lived. The City Center project at the current Journal-Star building site will be a $90 million project after developers have hammered out the details. The message from these and dozens of other private-public partnerships is simple. It's the private sector risk takers and dreamers who make growth happen. When we have the public tools to support them, Lincoln wins. 21st century economic growth and prosperity does not happen without a 21st century education. We must continue to partner with LPS and UNL and SCC and Rising Wesleyan and all of the other educational institutions that maintain and enhance Lincoln's key growth advantage, which is simply knowledge. Our partnership with Lincoln Public Schools are great examples. Almost all LPS students now have Chromebooks, and the city is helping with internet access. Any student can visit any of our 8 libraries and work on assignments using the library's high-speed wireless network. Soon, fiber nodes at traffic lights will bring free wireless internet to LPS students where they live. Our collaboration with LPS and other organizations on the Community Learning Centers initiative is offering our children high-quality learning opportunities in our schools during non-school hours. CLCs are becoming a critical part of keeping our neighborhoods strong and developing our future workforce. Most of all, they help bring disadvantaged children into the circle of prosperity, and that's really important. Don't we have to do that? UNL's Innovation Campus is an incubator for entrepreneurs to develop exciting new businesses, which often then later join a thriving new startup community centered in the West Haymarket. Their success has earned Lincoln a growing reputation as the hub of the Silicon Valley, the Silicon Prairie, and driven economic growth and diversity. Thriving communities also support lifelong learning. Every Lincoln resident, people from all walks of life, should have access to new technologies that keep our workforce on the cutting edge. That's why I'm working closely with the Library Board to to develop a workable proposal for both the new downtown Central Library and the neighborhood branch library improvements. I look forward to a community-wide discussion on why it is important as we plan for the future. Economic development, economic investment, a 21st century education are groundwork for the third idea for continued success. Innovation opportunities, seizing on to innovation opportunities that drive the community forward. Our commitment to fiber infrastructure, for example, is creating prospects we could not have imagined only 5 years ago. A day will arrive in the not-too-distant future when smart traffic technologies will guide you to the fastest route, helping you avoid traffic accidents and backups. You will park your electric-powered car in a city parking garage and plug it in to recharge while you hop onto a driverless downtown shuttle. You'll find free wireless internet at multiple locations throughout the community. After an initial investment of $700,000 from the city's Fast Forward Fund, the Lincoln Broadband Project has already partnered with 8 private telecommunication providers to improve access and competition to next generation broadband and wireless infrastructure. Our investment has paid off. 10 new companies have opened offices in Lincoln. 400 new jobs have been created with over $20 million in new annual salaries. $250 million has been invested in private broadband infrastructure over the past 2 years. As a result, Lincoln is recognized as a national leader in public-private broadband infrastructure deployment. Bold ideas like the Lincoln Broadband Project return exponential returns, benefits to our citizens, and inspires our citizens to build more and to dream more and to invest in their fellow citizens. Technology offers exciting glimpses of the future, but you know what? Streets, sewer, water, sidewalks, and trails are still the primary drivers of growth. And that brings us to the fourth idea: consistent and adequate investment to build the bread and butter infrastructures. These are still vital and will always be vital to our future economic prospects. The data is clear. The city has increased spending on streets by 58% since 2010, helping to ignite the private sector investment boom that has made our economy, the envy of many across the nation. Northwest 48th Street has been transformed from a narrow county road into a modern 4-lane street capable of supporting the industrial development potential of Lincoln's airport and industrial park. The distant dream of the South Beltway is now a reality. The city and the county and the state partnered on a solution to get the job done while reducing the city's 20% match by $10 million. The potential for the same kind of economic boost exists in Northeast Lincoln, where the proposed North Lincoln Exchange will transform the 33rd and Cornhusker area. The project will help reduce traffic gridlock and open new land to business development in that area of town. Investment in roads like 98th Street, Rokeby Road, Pine Lake East, the proposed East Beltway, and other city streets will enhance the overall quality of life and stimulate, again, economic growth in East Lincoln. All good news, to be sure, but more needs to be done. Several large economic development projects are slowed, for example, because we do not have city funds needed to improve Rokeby Road, slowing development that will create more good-paying construction jobs and more needed homes, and expanding our tax base. Our spending per mile lane on street maintenance, repair, and construction is 25%, still 25% below the average spent by our peer cities. The lesson is clear. We miss critical opportunities when we don't adequately fund our roads budget. That's why our administration is partnering with the Chamber of Commerce on the Lincoln Citizens Transportation Coalition. 27 community leaders and elected officials are reviewing our street program to make recommendations for action. The coalition will identify strategies to advance our roads program over the next 20 years. It's a great group of people, and I'm confident that they will find us the best answers for our community. Let me reiterate that the last decade has been a time of historic change in Lincoln. The Blueprint for Progress has been the common thread to our successes, and we will continue to use it to drive those 4 ideas that are key to building our future. Again, economic investment, 21st century education, innovation, and world-class infrastructure. I don't know who that was at the back of the room, but that was real leadership. At the end of the day, a blueprint for progress is only as good as the community that steps forward and accepts responsibility for creating change. Over the last decade, we have rediscovered that we have limitless possibilities when we come together and focus our talent and energy on a vision for the future. Interestingly, the spelling of the word community includes the word unity. Pinnacle Bank Arena represents so much more to me than simply an entertainment venue. It's a shining beacon of what we can accomplish when leadership and passion and purpose converge. It gave us the confidence to take on new and bigger challenges in our quest to become a world-class city. It taught us that when we work together, there are no obstacles too big to overcome and no boundaries to our collective imagination. We have become the community that perhaps the author George Bernard Shaw had in mind when he wrote, "We dream things that never were and ask, why not?" Because we have dared to ask why not as a community, I can report to you that the state of our great city has never been better. Our economy is strong, our quality of life is high. Lincoln has indeed become a world-class city that can compete with anyone, anywhere, anytime. Thank you very much.
Mayor Beitler, thank you for your vision and your leadership. That was a great message this morning for which we are all grateful. Couple of final notes here this morning. Nominations are now being accepted for the second annual Luminary Award presented by Mayor Beitler and the City of Lincoln. Join us on December 1st to honor the recipient, a citizen who has displayed consistent and intentional actions that demonstrate Lincoln's values and has gone above and beyond in making a positive impact on our community and its citizens. Nominations will be accepted on Leadership Lincoln's website until the end of October. Thank you, Steve. Congratulations, Dr. Moore. Thank you, Chris Beitler, for your vision and your guts. We appreciate all you're doing for our community over all these years and look forward to seeing what unfolds next. We thank Mick and his team. Mick, where did you go? Could you give the Leadership Lincoln crowd a nice round of applause? And we'll go forth today and continue to provide leadership and guts as we make Lincoln a great place to live. Thank you very much. Have a great Friday and a great weekend, and thank you for coming this morning.